You go first. Where's yours? Yeah, you can see it a little bit.
See, mine's so long.
Right. For Jeremy, it's probably like 3 days. I've heard it several times
Today.
Should we?
Yeah.
Mr. Porter? Item number 3 in the consent calendar, we're going to put it in the regular session just because it's different than what we posted. It doesn't include the one. So, for the record, yes. Okay, I will call to order this regularly scheduled meeting and call to order renewal agency and ask the secretary to call the roll.
Hopper.
Here.
Porter.
Here.
Warwick. Here. Wagner.
Here.
Allgood.
Here.
Ramirez.
Here. We have a full commission and everybody's present in the room today. So that's an exciting change. There were other people here too. As always, I would ask if anyone has a conflict of interest on any item that is in the agenda. Hearing none, I don't believe there's any special presentation. I'm not sure there's any public comment. And so that takes us to the consent, to the agenda. And Mr. Porter, I believe we have a change.
Yes, on item number 3, Mr. Sherman, approve resolution accepting a purchase and sale agreement. If we could move that down to new business, there's some additional information that we will need to consider this evening.
We'll take item number 3 off of the consent calendar, and we'll move to new business item number 21. So that the amended consent calendar consists of items 1, 2, 4, 5, and 6. I would entertain a motion concerning the disposal of the consent calendar. Oh, let's first do this. We do all in favor of, let's say, I need a motion for approval of the amended agenda.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Woodward. Second by Mr. Wagner. Amended agenda. Any further discussion?
Mr. Chairman, I would move that we approve the consent calendar with that adjustment.
Second. Moved and seconded to approve the consent calendar. Will the secretary call the roll?
Porter.
Yes.
Warwick. Yes. Wagner.
Yes.
Allgood.
Yes.
Ramirez.
Yes.
Hopper.
Yes. Okay, now we can move to old business.
Mr. Chairman and Commissioners, the report for the month of May that I will be presenting was sent to you. Project North, again, that continues to be our discussions that we have with Bob Venture Allquest on North Ranch. Again, the 114 acres that was purchased from St. Luke's on Highway 2026 across the street from Sky Ranch. We continue to have leads and discussions with them from the economic development standpoint anyway, regarding potential leads. We're working with a number of leads. Some are listed below on our lead sheet here. In addition, we're working with them on a couple of other commercial opportunities where they've taken the lead and we continue to work with them on that. So we would anticipate seeing some activity, I believe, before the end of the year. Obviously, they're going to go through the process of annexation and zoning for that site. But again, as you're, of course, very directly, Mayor, that is in the urban renewal district, and so we continue to work with them on such projects. The next project down, Project Prometheus, is one of those projects. That's one, again, that has, thank you, COVID-19 for putting that into a delay. Obviously, a very, very large, very strong project. We're very excited if we can make this one happen. We are still one of just 9 communities. The Boise area is one of 9 communities being considered for that site. We are one of 4 in the Boise area being considered for that site. So we'll continue to work with them. Project Spirit, same situation that we're looking at the BVA site. Get back to Project North. We're also looking at the John Lottie property that's at 2026 and Aviation across the street again from North Ranch. Project Pellet, we continue to work. Actually, there's 3 sites we're looking at for that. That would be the John Lottie site that I just mentioned, the Eisenberg site, which would be at the corner of Smead and 2026, on the south side of 2026, and North Ranch. That is one that we have some discussion, and I believe Mr. Jenkins has had some discussion with a member of that organization most recently. So I think they still have a very strong interest in looking at an expansion into that Caldwell Urban Renewal area. Project Utility, we continue to work with the broker that brought the deal, 15 jobs. They're considering a couple of, really about 3 different sites. All 3 of them are in the urban renewal area, in and around the Sky Ranch Business Park site. Project Raptor is a lead again from BVUP. Food processing, 350,000 to 700,000 square feet. North Ranch is, was submitted along with the John Lottie property. Again, those are 2 properties we just keep echoing because they're out there, they're available, and I think they're very, very good sites. There was a 3rd piece of property that was being submitted for that, particularly became again from the Boise Valley Economic Partnership. That one was in the area that we had talked about some time ago with the North Urban Renewal area that we had worked on last year, and could make a resurgence sometime in the future, but for now, that was the 3rd site that was submitted. Happens again to be outside of our current urban renewal district. Project Scope, another new project I'm working with Boise, with Ball Venture, Northwest on that is actually about 250,000 square foot distribution center that is considering the Boise area. I think there's about 3 sites in the valley that they're looking at. We are one of 3. I think we pose a very, very interesting opportunity for them in that the proximity of the highway is very, very good. We have the utilities they want and that they need there. I'm hoping that we will hear something on that probably within the next 90 days or so. Project Sandpiper, Northwest Sandpiper. Again, that was an Idaho Commerce League that came to us, 15 to 25 acres, 40 plus jobs. Again, probably some of the same folks we've talked about that I've already spoken about as far as potential location. Continuing working with the Treasure Valley Community College on the development of an aircraft maintenance facility, which was part of the consent docket today. We've had conversations with private investors and private industry in the area that has shown a high level of interest in that. Most recent conversation that I did have with Kim Tompkinson, who's the director of the Caldwell facility, they're hoping and anticipating, and this may be optimistic, but they would like to see the program begin to launch, if you will, in January, so within the next few months. So again, they're in the process of, they've got a secured instructor, curriculum is being put together now with the potential of the facility to be located for them, and I think they do have a plane, one plane to work on, and there's a potential for a 2nd plane, so they're gathering a lot of momentum to move forward with that idea, that effort, and obviously we want to be very, very supportive of that based on what we know about that particular industry and the wages that is paid for those industries. And then what that also does for us as we look at recruiting businesses in and around the airport. The Homegrown Innovation Center has been on the agenda on and off. We continue to work. We had a phone conversation with a couple of folks, one being Tech Help, that's headquartered, based out of Boise State. They're not affiliated directly with Boise State, but they're based out of there. And also with Jay Larson, who's with the Idaho Tech Council. We continue to move forward with that. We're looking at a couple of locations still. I believe both the locations that we're considering are in the urban renewal district area. And so I think we're starting to see and gain a little more momentum on that again after, again, the COVID kind of squashed our efforts on that. And then most recently, Project Brown Dog, potential business that I met with, they are looking at a retail, potentially a retail site in and around the plaza area. It really doesn't have anything to do with dogs or the color brown. So I just pull an idea out of the hat. So we continue to stay very, very busy, and with that, I'm happy to address any questions you may have.
Any questions for Mr. Cole? Steve, I do have one question. I know you're working to find tenants for North Ranch. Is EPA working independently to land folks as well? I just don't want to get in a position, I mean, maybe that would be a good position to be in, but selling the same land twice kind of thing. I want to make sure that you guys are at least aware of what's happening with each other.
Mr. Chairman, yes, I speak, their primary contact for me through this process is their marketing people, a gentleman named Mark Cleverly. And I talk to Mark probably once every week or two, so that we're coordinating efforts. Yes, they are working diligently as well. One of the other things that I haven't mentioned here, but that we worked in cooperation with, I think I've mentioned it in past meetings, is we're working with Idaho Power on a marketing piece, a flyover, where they will be doing a short video, and so we've been working with BBA on that as well. So we're working very cooperatively in our marketing and the leads that we have, and they're sharing with me the leads that they have, so that we're working very much arm in arm through this process.
Any other questions for Mr. Cole?
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Jenkins. Welcome.
Chairman, Commissioners, thank you very much. It is actually, I'm encroaching upon my 1-year anniversary on Wednesday. So I was anticipating some balloons or, something in here, but maybe next time, huh?
The day after you did.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe not next time.
Okay, all right, just making sure, nobody forgets that. All right, I'll jump into my report. So Project Invent, as you may recall, they're a commercial manufacturer. They focus on cosmetic products for humans and animals. We met with this organization recently, Steve and I did, and we had a very good discussion with them. They're still considering locations in the Boise Valley, so we're one of a few options within the valley, of course, and they're not certain as to where they're located, but we felt like we made a good impression on them. So we're hoping that we're able to seal the deal there. They envision hiring 400 employees at a future 140 square foot site. So also, just to echo Steve's sentiments on the Innovation Center, we're heating things up on that one. That is looking promising. We realize that this time is now very important to support entrepreneurs and small businesses. So that's our aim, is to develop this facility and to really focus on something specific to Caldwell. Really our strengths, that's what we're hitting on at this point, trying to nail down really an element that we can focus on within the center that will allow these entrepreneurs and small businesses to thrive. Project UGA.
Mr. Jenkins, I'm assuming it's more than 140 square feet.
Yeah, the building, yeah. 140,000, excuse me, yeah. 140 square feet, yep. 140,000, thank you. I appreciate that. So Project UGA, they're looking at locations in the greater Caldwell area. They're a local eatery that focuses on dessert. I'm currently assisting them with, some locations. Spoke with them recently, and they have been looking for a little over a year. So that was good to hear. Now we're just kind of nailing down different sites and different locations. Really kind of focusing outside the downtown area for this group. Project Radio, I visited this restaurant recently, and with the slowdowns from COVID-19, it's very uncertain, but he's optimistic about Caldwell. He still, obviously enjoys what he sees here as infused what we've done in the downtown core and our community as a whole. Just really waiting on what may occur within the next few months. His main concern is the second wave and what that might look like. So he just doesn't want to put all his eggs in one basket, if you will, and just wants to see how things play out. So there'll be discussions with him and his group within the next few months. And just some updates for downtown. Ruby Bloomfield and Gifts, they opened last month. They've been doing very well. Spoke with their owner. She said that she's been thoroughly impressed with the reception she's received. The welcoming environment that Caldwell represents has been very inspiring for her, but the sales have been really strong. Also, QC Wine Down, spoke with the owner there recently. They're scheduled to open this month. They're going to be located on 7th next to Fire and Ice Pottery Studio. So look out for that group here soon. And then Project Slice, they're moving forward with plans to locate downtown. They hope to be open in November. They're a fast casual restaurant, as we discussed last month. And they kind of have an Italian style as far as their menu is concerned. And then just a quick update on Kickstart Cargo. It's going really well. The reception's been thoroughly positive. Businesses are very excited that we're throwing this out for them and helping support them in different ways. And last month I checked on it, 44 businesses that are participating so far, but to date it's probably closer to 60 or so businesses. We're still trying to get more. But in a nutshell, we're developing resources on the resource page. We're handing out floor stickers to support businesses as they work on social distancing. And of course, we're handing out the posters to signify their affiliation with the program. And with that concludes my report, unless you have any questions for me.
Very good. Any questions for Mr. Jenkins? Thank you. All right, that takes us to the item we pulled into new business. As you may or may not know, we've been pursuing some acreage to expand the airport for some time. We did make a kind of last and final offer, and so we're going to do work. So, Mr. Hilton, you want to give us the details on that and what we're being asked to do?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, good evening, Commissioners. It was a tough negotiation. The discussion on acquiring this property had been ongoing for literally 15 years. Came to agreement last week. The agreement is fairly simple. It's set forth in the packet. If you have any questions about that, please let me know. But basically, it's 15.35 acres. It would be a cash purchase for $2.62.5 per square foot, which was a compromise figure. The agency had the property appraised for $2.05 a foot. The owner had it appraised for $3.75 a foot. So you can see how we had quite a distance of ridge to gap. That is an investment that should be reimbursed by the Federal Aviation Administration at some point in the future as that property comes along for airport development. The reason it was pulled off of your consent calendar has to do with the way it was agendized in the original resolution, talking about acceptance of a warranty deed, which is not something the agency would do. The agency's been asked to fund the purchase, but the title of the property would be taken by the city, and the city would receive the deed. And the reason for that is to streamline reimbursement and align the project with FAA requirements. So at some point in the future, that would be a reimbursable real estate property acquisition. That concludes my report on this topic. I can try to answer any questions you have.
Any questions for Mr. Hilton?
Mr. Chairman,
Okay, Mr. Hilton?
just refresh my memory, since it's been 15 years, what makes this piece of property so valuable to the airport? What's the intention in the future?
Yeah, it's the location of the property that makes it valuable. It's been identified for acquisition on the airport master plan for more than 15 years. It is along the runway to the southeast side of the current terminal, which which puts the property on the northeasterly side of the runway. It's a key location, for the expansion of taxiway, additional hangar areas, and business development adjacent to the hangar, and presents kind of a logical progression of the extension of infrastructure for continued development of the airport. I could talk as nerdy as Brent can about this, but I know Rob, at the airport has weighed in on this routinely here as we, kind of got to the sort of the edge of the cliff on negotiating this, has talked about, the significance of it. And, in his comments, he would tell you that, the FAA has watched this and identified, understands that this was identified for acquisition and is very supportive of the city acquiring that for, continued development of the airport.
Thank you.
Mr. Porter, this also is, this property is adjacent to the terminal, and it was anticipated all along that the Apple property when the terminal was built. If we didn't acquire it, then no expansion of hangars or anything could happen on the northeast side of the airport, and the terminal would be an island unto itself. So that's really not what we were anticipating. The airport master plan doesn't anticipate that either, so that's why this was always important for us.
Mr. Chair.
Yeah, Mr. Holman.
So in our timeline of things, I'm on the airport commission. I know they're very, very anxious to expand and get new hangars. In the timeline of things, how soon could that start, would you estimate?
I'm sorry, Commissioner Holman, I don't know the answer to that. That was
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Ogden, it actually could start fairly quickly. Obviously, once we have it in our possession, we're going through the revisions right now, updates to the airport master plan, as you're aware. But fairly quickly is what we'd be looking at. We try to get it platted out and move forward with it, but I would say probably within several months we should be able to start doing that. One of the real key elements of that is, as you're probably aware, and I would make sure everybody else knows, we're basically out of land on the other side.
Yes.
And for years, and I've been here, I'm going on my 18th year now, I've been hearing, why are we not developing on that side? And I keep saying, we don't own the land to develop. So this really kind of puts us in a position where we can do that. We're going to build infrastructure, and that's something I think Brent and Rob would be able to answer more than me, but we'll eventually be running water, sewer, and a roadway through there. So, but again, we currently own 1 acre next to the terminal building, which we could begin construction immediately on that if we wanted to. But I would say you're going to see it within the next several months, things starting to move with it.
That's good, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, yes, Mr. Lewis.
You mentioned the reimbursement from the FAA. Is that just, this is the purchase price, this is how much they're going to reimburse us, or is this they're going to be paying for buildings and hangars and that kind of stuff too?
Commissioner Ramirez, they will reimburse the cost of acquiring the real estate. And so they've got a long, detailed federal process for how we go about acquiring it. We do this in communication with them to make sure that we're satisfying all of their requirements for subsequent reimbursement. But that's the way that the airport grows, is that they will acquire property for airport expansion subject to reimbursement at some later date.
If you don't mind, Commissioner Ramirez, the way the process is going to work, as Mr. Hilton has outlined, is Brent has been in communication with FAA, and they are looking to have the reimbursement happen in 2024. So hence why it has to go through the city, because urban renewal will already have the revenue allocation area closed by then. And as Mr. Hilton pointed out, it makes it for a much easier and smoother process for the city to have that acquisition in their name.
And Mr. Mayor, that's actually pretty fast. I think the reimbursement for the runway expansion on the north side was 8 or 10 years before we got that one passed. So it's a long process to get that.
And if things don't change between now and 2024 and the formula stays the same, it should be about a 90% reimbursement from FAA.
Any other questions? We have before you the resolution, that indicates that the Urban Renewal Agency of Colorado has budgeted to assist the planned acquisition of the airport, and the subject property that we're discussing is expected to be completed by the city and will be duly reimbursed, by everyone that purchased, and eventually 90% or so will come from the federal aviation administration.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Raleigh.
I move that we accept this resolution and purchase this property.
It's been moved by Mr. Alden, second by Ms. Warwick. Any further discussion? Secretary call the roll.
Alden,
Yes.
Ramirez,
Yes.
Hopper,
Yes.
Porter,
Yes.
Warwick. Yes. Wagner.
Yes.
All right. Now, the airport expansion. Item number one, under new business, is our invoices for the month of June. Ms. Mitchell.
Chairman, Commissioners, I'll take a couple minutes and give a couple updates before we go into action item number one. Just to remind everyone here, on next Wednesday, which is June 17th, in this room at 6 o'clock, there is a workshop with the State Tax Commission, Alan Dornfest. Alan will be giving a high-level view of urban renewal for the new commissioners. Then we'll talk about new legislation that's affecting urban renewal in the upcoming year. And then we'll talk about a timeline for the date that we need to work towards as the new revenue allocation area prepares to sunset. Then at our next meeting on July 13th, that Monday at 6 o'clock in this room, is our budget workshop. Just a couple reminders there. All right? Any questions on those upcoming workshops that we have? So tonight before you have a request to approve $23,940 in expenses. And those are two invoices, our standard monthly ones, our economic development reimbursement of $18,000, and our monthly legal fees of $5,940. And with that, I'll stand for questions.
Any questions for Ms. Mitchell? Okay. I would entertain a motion on of the invoices for June. So, moved by Mr. Alden for approval. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Ramirez. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, privilege report.
All right, thank you. Commissioners, Chairman, you have before you tonight the monthly bank statement reconciliation. We'll start in that gray box and from the bottom work our way up. Right now we have a total of $15,854,988.56 in our account. That's in three different accounts. Our LGIP account is $115,739. The Banner Bank CD is $250,380. And our operating account is $15,488,868. That Banner Bank operating account breaks out to the following categories. Restricted for other taxing districts, $9,736,081. Restricted Coswell for $3,050,265. Our TDCC account of $579,245. And our restricted job creation or land account of $2,123,276. And that approval of that upcoming airport land will come out of this restricted job creation / land account.
Any questions for Ms. Mitchell on the reconciliation? Okay, motion to accept the reconciliation. Hold on, Ms. Warwick.
Second.
Second by Mr. Alden. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We got it. Okay, so, Healthy, you've got a couple items to report on that meeting?
Yes, just briefly, Mr. Chairman, the process is proceeding on the drafting and development agreements for both of these items. And I'll probably kind of lump them together because they are somewhat similar sized projects, and I've been in communication with, the principals in this, in both of these, and we're looking at trying to craft, a development agreement that's a little bit simpler than what we use for, the theater and what we would still plan on using for Creekside. Those are big, complicated, high dollar developments. These are a little bit more, straightforward. And so we're looking at, probably a July date for having something to present to, the agency, which is in line on both of these proposals with their timeframe. Both of them, were, targeting the fall to be under construction. So let me start a little more detail with, the Cleveland Event Center, which again, you've nominated Muscle Construction to be the one to proceed with that development. Mike Muscle's company did the old Nampa Library renovation, and I was hopeful that there was something there that we could use for a good format for a development agreement. Turns out it was the same one that's been floating around that other agencies have used, that we had used before, on the theater project. So we're in the process of trying to streamline that. He still is very interested in the project. I told him I would try to have a draft agreement to him later this week. He did mention to me on the phone today that he may be looking for a little bit of extension time in this. I think you all know that from his proposal, he was looking at a restaurant as his anchor tenant in that building. And he's saying the same thing that you're hearing from Mr. Jenkins and everybody else. It's been tough on restaurants this spring for reasons that have nothing to do with this developer or the location in Caldwell or any of that. And so, he did say now is not a bad time to be under construction, so it may be that construction is not delayed, but, ultimate obligations for occupancy, might have to wait for just the right tenant. Anyway, that's something that I'm not asking you to approve tonight. It's just, something that came up that wasn't particularly surprising, and we'll work on the details of that as we get this development agreement moving forward. I also spoke with Jeff Wardle. I think some of you know him. He's an attorney in Boise that is representing the Side A Brewing investors. He owed them a phone call. The time I spoke with him, I said, well, you can call him and get back to me, and, I want to get an update from you on where this is at. Last thing I heard from them was that they were still excited, looking at a 6-month, extension. Mr. Polk's reported this morning in the economic development team meeting, he had contact with them within the last week, and they're very excited to keep going forward. And the shutdown in Oregon, which has been more strict than it has been in Idaho, has not hurt them as much as they were fearing. So they're optimistic, and hopefully we can still meet their existing timeframe with that. Mr. Wardle and I discussed in concept a little bit how that DDA might be structured. We think both of us agree that something a little more streamlined than the one that has been kind of pulled off the shelf in the past is in order. I'm going to take a first cut at that, and so my plan is to kind of develop these in tandem agreements that look somewhat similar, at least in their legal structure, so that we're not dealing with two completely different agreements as we go forward on these developments, which should be proceeding roughly the same time. That's the status of them. Again, still within the timeframes that were proposed in the RFP's responses, including the timeframe set aside for the development of these agreements. I think as the summer progresses, we'll know a little bit more about whether we're looking at a delay in the process, a request for a delay in the process or not. So that's the status now. I certainly stand for any questions.
Questions, Mr. Hilton?
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Hilty, any updates on Creekside?
Yes, sorry, I should. They, as you know, the agency at the last meeting authorized the, exclusive negotiating agreement. I've been getting updates, from Mr. Pepe probably weekly. They were in the process of having a hotel study done, and he shared with me the proposal that had been made. I'm not sure it had been finally approved by his folks. That was a couple weeks ago. I assume it has by now, but, he's been providing some updates as they go along, and really they're looking and spending money. I saw the proposal letter had them spending several $1,000s to have that study done, so they're very serious. put together, you know, the development that's gonna meet their cash flow needs in order to be a viable project. So he's been very responsive, he's been, taking the initiative to kind of keep you posted. They're working on it, they're doing what they said they would do.
Any other questions for Mr. Elton? I don't have much to report except, the elections last week seemed to favor the urban renewal agencies to some degree, so we may be back on for a, new, urban renewal district, without having to go strictly through the annexation path, which is kind of where we're at. We need to annex the properties before we could have that involvement, derail us. They obviously can't actually have anything happen until after the first of year 5. I think that's positive, and we can begin, I think, dusting off our plans and starting to look back at what that new district might look like and how we go about it. So we'll be updating you as we go through that process again. Some of the things we've done in the meantime actually might change, those times a little bit, so. Any other commissioners, questions or issues they want to comment on?
There we go. So just kind of off like with the downtown, obviously I see that a lot down there working quite often, and yeah, it's been, the last couple of weeks have been great. You know, that a lot of people, today was cold, so there wasn't very many people down, but last Tuesday, it was a hot place. I mean, seeing the people are ready to get out, the floral shop right next to us, they're doing great, really great people. You know, it's good to see good people coming in to Caldwell and opening business. And there's another business that I guess you should know about that'll be opening soon, a new ice cream shop will be opening, called Sugar Burst. Should be part of my soda shop, actually, so, but anyway, we're looking at doing some premium ice cream there soon too, so if you can have that, should listen to things coming in downtown Caldwell. But it's been great, I mean, people are ready to get out, it's been neat, and we've had a lot of people stop at our shop and look at our sign. We have one of those that, Mr. Jim has mentioned about, that talks about, you know, that we're ready for customers, and we've had a lot of people just stop and read that and look at it, so that's a good thing, so, and then most of them come in afterwards, so I appreciate all that they're doing for the businesses down there. It's been good. I'm excited. I think it's gonna be a great summer down there.
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah, Mr. Porter.
My question has to do with the lighting over at Colorado. Is that still on track for this summer, or is that?
Yeah, in fact, you have an update on that, because I believe they are about ready to switch.
We're done. The lighting is done at both, Bloomfield and Sunspot Stadium. We are currently in the process of getting some training on how to turn the lights on.
You mean it's not just flip the switch?
We call Motel Lake.
Actually,
Crystal confidence is a switch.
I thought it was flip the switch as well, and I have been corrected in my misconception, and it's really an app on your phone that controls those lights. So we're going to be receiving some training on that. This is good news. Bloomfield has never been rented in my history here at Caldwell and in our Parks and Recreation supervisor's history. Bloomfield is now full for the summer. We have scheduled that field for the next 2 months.
You know, I'm having trouble with this COVID-19 thing and how much negative effect it's had, because we've heard for so long about the negative effect, but people I talk to are doing wonderfully. I mean, they have, for instance, we know Ross stocks very well, and they're setting records every month in their store for what they're selling. I mean, it's you know, you're hearing things. I hope you don't want a freezer, because you're not going to get a freezer till like August, you know. They're just selling like crazy, and I'm just hoping that at the end of the day, when things all shake out, that it wasn't near as bad as what we dreamed it to be.
Yeah, it's interesting, a lot of businesses you wouldn't have expected, you know, I think hard because, you know, you stay at home a lot and you go, oh my God, what's going to happen to my refrigerator tonight? Okay, anything else, any other business, any other items? If not, magic words.
Motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn by Mr. Ryder, second by Mr. Arthur. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Done deal. Thank you all.
Trying to get the date and time for the workshops, maybe again, I want to make sure.
Yeah, so hopefully by the end of the
I heard you say
so
16.
can be, we're actually got some ice cream flying in, hopefully tomorrow, and we try and.
And then our normal